All right, what's going down? Happy Tuesday. What's happening? Ruth, what's going on? Thank you guys so very much. Hope all of you are having an amazing day. Dre, what's happening? I hope you guys ready for a good conversation today, because today is the Truth Seekers. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m., I have the honor, the privilege, and the passion to bring to you the conversation that I know we want to talk about, but we have to wait until we're around the right group of people with the right kind of mind so that we can break this down, unpack it, and discuss it more logically. I hope all of you are doing well. I hope the weather hasn't gotten you so low that you can't smile and think positive, because it is worse somewhere. I can guarantee you that. I want to make sure that we start this show off by saying that this is all about us, not about me specifically, but about us, about all of the different intellectual perspectives, the experiences that we have all shared personally and collectively. And these are the kind of shows that allow us to come together and talk about the things that matter most. I hope that you not only like the show, I hope that you comment, and more importantly, share this show. Share this show not only to your homepage, but by all means, share this show to the groups that you're a part of. The shows that you like should be put out there so that the groups that you're in get an opportunity to see exactly what it is that you are offering. I want to say what's going on to all of the people who are listening to me on Instagram, all the people that are tuned in on Facebook, all the people that are listening on IntellectualRadio.com, on our iHeart channel, and on YouTube. We're on all the different channels of social media, and it is my goal to get this show out to each and every person that I possibly can. And with your help, we can make that happen. So remember, this is not just about listening to me talk. I want you to share what you care. Okay? Eric, what's going on, family? Hey, Pari in the house, what's happening? Karen, what's going on, sis? Hope all is good. Look here. Today, we've got a complicated conversation. See, because a lot of us know that there is some things going on. Every now and again, there is a rule that is put in place, and that rule is because of how imperfect the world is. I'm telling you, for a long time, women, especially women in this country, have had to deal with so much abuse, so much neglect of what is and isn't right. I'm talking about the amount of pressure that was put on women to be something that was not equal to men, but always given the short end of the stick. It has killed me. I mean, it is such a disgrace to see the way that women have been mistreated in this country. And you know, the amount of rights that women have still do not equal the same amount of leverage that men do in this country, and it's an atrocity. It is so wrong that a woman has to be compelled to be so many different things that a man has not had the same responsibility or onus to be. Estrella, what's going on? See, I want to talk to you guys today about the fact that it took suffrage. It took women risking their dignity, women risking their safety, women risking their social status to be able to step up and become the women that we see today. Anna, what's going on? You know, in the 1920s, women only dreamed about the lives that women live today. The amount of sacrifice that goes on is amazing, even today, for women to come together and stand up and say, you know what? This is wrong. We need to have the same rights, the same privileges, the same pursuits and possibilities that any other man has, because there is nothing about me that makes me inferior to a man. And this is the truth that I grew up in. When I think about women, I think about my mother. I think about my sister. I think about my grandmother. I think about my wife. I think about my daughters. I think about my friends. I think about the people that I look forward to talking to and discussing real issues with. Because I know that not only are they equal to me, but oftentimes they're capable of guiding me in areas that I had not thought at that moment. See, equal dialogue is something that is a blessing to open up the platform to all those who are intelligent and have experience and thoughts. I want to say what's up. Special shout out to the mayor. What's going on? Thank you so much, Mayor Thompson, for checking in with us today. Anna, what's happening? Listen, today we're going to have a complicated conversation, and the complicated conversation is because when I'm to a point where women have to fight and claw for the rights that other men have, there is a need to have statutes put in place. And when you put these statutes in place, it's to protect the women's rights that have been so violated, so decimated, so downtrodden in their respects for pursuits of the same equality as men. Now, I say all this to say that sometimes when you do something right, something wrong happens. Let me give you an example. Affirmative action was an opportunity for Africans who had been oppressed in America to finally gain the kind of rights and respect that they deserved. The dignity they were supposed to have was supposed to give them an opportunity to create businesses, to create hiring opportunities, to create all kinds of equality within the disadvantaged platforms that so made themselves prevalent in America. But what we found out is only within a few years, this was an exploited law. This was an exploited privilege. And we found out that Africans in America, blacks in America, those who were exploited in America, those who had suffered the Jim Crow, suffered all of the black codes, suffered all of the different incarcerations and redlining, were the least ones to benefit from rules. In actuality, what we found out was that white women were the number one beneficiaries of affirmative action. And as much as we needed it, it had become a situation of almost embarrassment because we were still on a precipitous decline. And white America was enjoying yet another rule they were able to take advantage of, and we were not. I tell you that every time that the government makes a move to go a particular way, the public, those who are evil, corrupt, and unwilling to see equality as something that is God-given, take advantage and exploit it. For that reason, today, I want to talk about something that is very hard for us to sit down and embrace because of the amount of pain that comes with this conversation. So many of us have been through specific things where we say empirically, this was an evil that was done and now you want to change it. I want to talk to you today about a man's parental rights. I want to talk to you today about what it means to say that a man does not have the same capacity to love a child as a woman does. I want to talk to you today about what it means to have to prove to somebody that you care about your own child and have to hope that that somebody has the wherewithal, the integrity, the emotional ability to see that you are somebody worthy of equality as a parent. See, because in our day-to-day, we say to ourselves, there is no inherent advantage between a man and a woman. But then we start talking parenting and we have a different conversation. For so long, women have been told what to do with their bodies. They've been told that they can or cannot have rights to make choices about what goes on in their bodies. Whether you have an abortion, whether or not you can take a pill, whether or not you can work all day, whether or not you can go to school, whether or not you can have adequate employment, if you can have equal salaries, if you can have all of these different things, women had to fight for. But I'm going to tell you, there is a group of people in this country right now that do not have equality. And that needs to be discussed. For right now, today, what I see is a real issue. And that real issue is that men right now today are suffering because they don't have a role in the family structure. They don't have a right in the family structure. Ever since the advent of the welfare state, ever since the ability for women to be able to basically provide a minimum expectation for themselves, there's been a precipitous decline. I mean, an immediate shortage of fathers in the home, wed fathers in the home. Santi, what's going on? Cuz, what's going on? I want you to understand that ever since 1964, when Lyndon B. Johnson created a war against poverty and increased the amount of help, i.e. welfare, that was provided for those who were suffering, there's been an ongoing suffrage that has not been discussed. See, when Lyndon B. Johnson came up with the war against poverty, he had one conversation in mind, and that was to eliminate the conditions that bred despair and violence and brought an end to Black poverty. And you know and I know that in 2018, there have been some amazing changes, but I would be hard-pressed to say that despair is gone, violence is at an end, and poverty is removed, and that the family is now where it should be in America. You know, I don't know if you know this, but in 1964, the woman who was most likely to be married was the Black woman. Right now, today, the least likely woman to be married is the Black woman. And I don't just mean in this country, I mean in this world. Think about that. Think about that. I used to struggle with this because I said, how is it that the woman is less likely to be married in a black family than the man? And then I find out what? I find out in actuality what's going on is that Black men are still marrying. They're just marrying outside of their race. And why are they marrying outside of their race? Because a lot of them feel like a lot of Black women are using the system to circumvent the right for a man to have a purpose in the home. See, because so many women have grown up using the welfare state, and this is not Black or white, because so many women have grown up utilizing the strengths of the welfare state, there has been a diffusion of the married man from the home. Tiffany, what's going on? Listen to what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying is that there are 7 ways that I can point out right now today that the war against poverty has destroyed the fatherhood in this country. 7 ways. I want to talk to you about one of the most important, one of the most simple, one of the most obvious ways, and that is, and listen to me, it is almost impossible for a low-income male to compete with government entitlements that a low-income woman will receive if he tries to marry her. You know, here's the thing that I have to talk to you about. See that a lot of people don't understand this, but when a man who's making under $30,000 a year, and let's just be honest about something, $40,000 a year is a pretty decent amount of money in this country, especially if you have a wife or your wife is making somewhere around $40,000 or so a year as well. Now we're looking at $80,000 in joint income. But see, here's the problem. The problem is that for a lot of men, especially men who have grown up in impoverished situations. And when I say impoverished situations, I want you to understand that I considered everything from the middle income down, to me, is pretty impoverished when you look at how people are able to make the gross in their economy. So what am I saying to you in a nutshell is that the average incentives given to a single woman with children equals something around $48,000 a year if somebody was to try to compete in income. And you know, a lot of women are understanding the inconsistency of relationships. Because, you know, a guy may or may not be what he says he's going to be. The job may or may not be what they say it's going to be. And employment may or may not be as consistent as they say it's going to be. And it's really hard for a woman to justify moving away from what's guaranteed. And when I say guaranteed, I'm referring to state entitlements. Mike B, what's going on? I'm saying, how does a man today compete with the state? There's absolutely nowhere in the world the average man who's not a degreed man can compete. And a lot of women say, hey, that's not my problem. See, my problem is making sure that I can take care of these kids, because at the end of the day, I've got to provide for these children. I've got to make sure that they've got the best capability of achieving in this world. And I got to look out for me. Chantel, what's happening? And so what is happening? What is really happening? What's happening is that a mother's calculation of what it takes to make it in this country reduced the value of a man from an income perspective. You know, what happened today didn't happen when my father's father was born. See, when my father's father was born, women and men came together. They figured it out. They worked through problems because there were no incentives from a government to see them fail. There was absolutely no reason in the world somebody was going to pay you more to move away from a relationship that you could work out than they would to see you leave and go on ahead and do that on your own. Hurts my heart, y'all. Hurts my heart, because at the end of the day right now, it would not make sense for the average woman who does not have a degree, who does not have a guaranteed salary expectation, to take on a man, because if a man is in a similar situation to her, chances are she better hold on to that state check. This is troubling. I know a lot of us have heard that Trump is considering forcing people to work in order to have their entitlements, but we all know that there's absolutely no way in the world that that's going to fly. And the reason why is because there's too many reasons why women will prove that it's just impossible for them to be able to maintain the kind of parental responsibility that they have the right to provide and still be able to work. We know that this is not going to be something that the average woman will allow a man to make a final decision on. So I don't think, no matter what the scare tactics sound like, that's something that is ever going to possibly happen. There's just too much power within the womanhood of this country, within the woman movement of this country. And I stay away from the word feminist because sometimes that can be misleading. But the unite of women has created a strength, a solidarity, a bond that allows for a woman's right to be a mother to supersede anybody else's opinion. And I respect a woman's right. I respect the woman's right to be a mother. I can only imagine what it means when a woman carries a child, to have the one day chance to hear the baby laugh, to see a baby walk, to hear a baby say, mama, to see that baby raised to be a beautiful person. I can only imagine how amazing that is. But I can imagine this as a man, because as a man, I too had those thoughts. I too looked forward to the opportunity of one day being able to see my child smile, walk, say daddy. But see, in this country right now today, a man does not necessarily have the same rights and the same ability to have that expectation, because fathers, especially specifically unwed fathers, are not guaranteed any rights other than the right to visit. I don't know if you know what that's like, but I've had the ability to visit in a relationship with a child of mine, and let me tell you, that visit hurts. When you walk into a situation and you know that there's absolutely no possible way in the world that you have the same relationship as a true respected father, it destroys you from the inside. Some men today are dealing with this deeply. See, I talk to women all the time when I tell them, listen, if you could just imagine somebody making a determination on whether or not you have the right to be a mother, you would not be able to conceive such a world. But see, in this world today, men are faced with such an undaunting reality. And see, for so long, men have learned to keep things quiet, keep things moving, and just deal with it. And what are the repercussions now? The repercussions is there are more and more mothers who are forced to have to parent the home by themselves, because you know what's really hard to do is to get a guy to buy into something that he doesn't believe is right. See, when there's absolutely no value other than a financial value, it hurts. You're disincentivized. You no longer want to be what another person tells you you have to be. Have you ever been told to do something that you actually loved, but told you have to do it in a way that somebody else tells you it needs to be done because you don't have the right to make your own choices? Because you know what? Your name wasn't on the birth certificate. Do you know there's a huge difference between whether or not your name is on a birth certificate, on the kind of rights that you're given, and whether or not your name isn't on a birth certificate? You know, I didn't know that right. I didn't know that because you know what? You don't necessarily have the ability to know whether or not your name is on a birth certificate, because if you are not the wedded father, you don't have a right to those special documents. So you don't know. You don't know. You could have been there, could have been at the hospital, could have been there when the baby was born, and still never been put on the child's birth certificate. Worse than that, do you know that in this country, you have something called rights? You have the right of equality in this country. You have the inalienable right of equality in this country until it becomes a question on whether you're a father. And don't get me wrong, this is not a conversation on whether or not a woman has the right to her body, because I believe there is absolutely no way in the world I will allow any human being to have a right to determine anything about my body. And if I'm not willing to share rights about my body, I'm not willing to impede on the woman's right for her body. I think it's ridiculous. I don't think there's even a possibility that anybody could stand on 2 feet and say somebody else has to share rights to their own body. Sherry, what's going on? I want to tell you guys again, this is your boy Tone Duncan. This is Truth Seekers every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I am bringing to you a real conversation, you guys, but don't just like. I want you to comment. Get involved. Tell me what you think. These are serious conversations. And when you're finished, I want you to share this in your favorite groups. I want you to put this on your page. I want you to get other people who are intelligent, meaningful, expressionate, just like yourself, to get involved with this conversation, because the stuff we talk about is real. I want to know if you have any idea what it's like to be told that you are not a natural father or parent. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? Candy, what's going on? Can you imagine this? Can you imagine somebody being able to have a determination process on whether or not you are fit to be a parent, even if you've never done anything wrong? You work every day. You love children. You have nothing but the best responsibilities, relationships, and everything else. And somebody tells you that we have to make certain that you're fit. Bridget, what's going on, sis? I want you to think about this. I have the equal rights of any human being in this country, so does every woman, but yet and still I don't have the equal right to be considered a parent. Why? Alameen, what's going on, family? Why? Why? What makes me inherently less? You tell me, because I want to know. Is it because I don't have the natural desire to see my children, to be successful, to love them, to care for them, to want to be a part of their lives, to smile when they smile, to get up in the middle of the night when they look like they're not sick? Do you think somehow I don't have that ability? There's a doctor in a hospital, has nothing to do with a child, but yet and still they're cognitive enough to know. You think it's just a woman thing? Do you really? Because I guarantee you this, I would never question a woman's ability to care about a child. But it's because as a man, I know how much I care. I want to say what's going on to everybody listening to Instagram. Thank you so very much for jumping in, giving your perspectives. I'm looking at everything you got to say. To all my people on Facebook, keep putting in your posts. I appreciate all of your comments. YouTube, talk to me. Hey, what's going on? Remember, you can check this out, IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart station. We are on every single social media wave that allows me to bring this message to you. But what I need you to do is I need you to like. I need you to comment. I need you to share this, not just with your page, but with all of the different groups that you're a part of, because this is the most realest conversation that you're going to have this week. And I thank you guys for being a part of it. I want to talk to you about a myth. I want to talk to you about a myth that fathers don't earn enough to significantly to contribute to the support of a mother and a child. Do you know that on average, when they did a poll, on average, the father was making enough money to do better for the child than the state could? This was on average when they went back and they looked. Okay? So this misunderstanding that men somehow are always less than they're supposed to be is completely a lie. And you ask yourself, because I want to know. I mean, is every single person shacking up with a deadbeat dude? I mean, wasn't this dude, didn't he have something going on when you was loving him, when you was liking him, when you was thinking maybe this could be the father of my child, when you were laying down with the dude? Wasn't he all right then? But all of a sudden now when it became, whether or not I'm going to allow another human being to have an actual decision on my child, now I evoke a level of unfairness. And you know it's unfair. You know in your heart that it's unfair. You know that a man was destined to be a father unless he's been proven to be unfit. And I know there's some unfit dudes. Man, listen to me. I've met a lot of dudes that should never have children. But I have to say, I've also met a lot of women who shouldn't. T says, what some solutions that we can do? One of the very first solutions that I think needs to happen right now today is I feel like single fathers need to come together and make sure that the Constitution is being upheld and that your equality as a man, your equality as a human being, your equality as an American is not superseded by legal judo, legal aerobics, legal foolishness. Because here's the problem that we're having right now. The problem that we're having is that men inherently deal with pain as an individual, not as a collective. They're not going to coalesce with each other. They're going to take that pain and turn that pain into violence. They're going to turn that pain into drugs. They're going to turn that pain into disenfranchisement, into some form of negativity. And then they're expected to somehow bring that to an end and just focus on life. Just deal with the cards you got and keep it going. Sean, what's going on, family? How is this possible? Have you ever been told, have you ever been disenfranchised from an inalienable love that you had and a thought that you had of your own life? We all grow up thinking that one day we'll be parents. Not all, but most of the intelligent people. Could you imagine if somebody told you, oh yeah, about your parenting. It's really not going to be about you, but I will need that money though. Can you imagine that? Could you imagine that? See, black fathers and a lot of fathers in this country, but I speak specifically on blacks because there's an overwhelming representation, has been marginalized. I mean, marginalized. I mean, what you got to understand is that the average black male realizes that the average black woman has utilized the entitlements to a point where maybe there's not a real value. You look and see, why is it that black women are so overly represented as singles? Have you thought about this? Well, the reason why is because at no point in society, more than in the black community, has it been so pervasive the way that welfare has just killed the systematic approach towards domestication, to the point where it does not make any darn sense for a woman to shack up with a man other than for sex and some form of a relationship, as long as that relationship doesn't in any ways impede on my entitlements. And it's not your fault, because you know what? You got to go with the best card you got. But look what it's doing to your children. You see all the stats. You see that the most economically challenged family in the world is a black woman's. Average doesn't have the kind of income to be able to sustain the household. Children are more likely to be abused, molested, be on drugs, victims of street violence, deal with post-traumatic stress disorder, and grow up and repeat the same darn thing. What's going on, Keenan? Much love, family. I'm talking to you guys about something that's real because nobody else wants to talk about it. We got to bring this conversation forward. See, I want to talk to you about something that really matters. See, because if you've ever loved like a father loves, you one day have to question, why is it that I know so many good fathers, but yet and still a good father is not considered to be the norm? See, I don't think people understand the psychological traumas that happen when somebody walks into a situation knowing they're inferior. How can I bring the kind of love and uncommitted or unresoluted commitment knowing that in the end, I'm not considered equal? Talk to me. What's your thoughts on that? Do you feel like that's a fair exchange? Now, mind you now, fathers, no matter unwed or wed, have the same economic responsibility. See, even though a wed father has tons more rights than an unwed father, both of those fathers have the same economic responsibility. Now, listen to this. I want you to understand this because if you don't understand this, then you miss the whole thing. This conversation isn't about something that's even more devastating, like the woman's exclusive ability to be able to determine whether or not she'll keep a child. I respect that that's a different conversation for a different day. But we're talking about once she made a decision to keep a child, once she made a decision to have a child call her mama, how is it that the father doesn't have the same rights? Can you talk to me about that? Because somebody, please, let me know what about a man makes him incapable of having the same inalienable right to be a magnificent part of his child's life. Tell me this. Why do they have to be so marginal? Why so marginalized? Why so inferior? You know, after the onset of war and poverty, the black out-of-wedlock birth rate skyrocketed. I don't know if you understand this, but see, the Moynihan report in 1960s pointed out that, you know what? 25%, almost a quarter, it was like 22 and a half, almost 24 in some places, percent of black children were born out of wedlock. Do you understand where it is right now? We're at 75%. We're at the reverse. Used to be a quarter that were out of wedlock. Now we got 75% that are born out of wedlock. And only 25% actually come into a marital situation. You tell me if that's not coerced by a welfare state that penalizes the man and celebrates the woman if she gets away from him and doesn't depend on him anymore. How does this work? How is that equal? How is that right for the child? That's nothing but decimation of a family when the child doesn't know who the father is, doesn't see the man have the same rights, the same quality of life, the same rights as a human being. How can he ever look at the man the same? See, I've had a woman tell me that she didn't see the significance of her father's, of a child's father. She didn't see it. She said, "What do I need him? He's drama. He got problems. And I already get all that money from somebody else. I got that money coming from the state. And he's doing better and more consistent than he is." Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that this woman minimized him to drama and income? As if every human being doesn't have drama and an economic responsibility. White, what's going on, family? This is a real conversation. You're listening. This is Tuesdays, the Truth Seekers, 7 p.m. every week. We bring in a real conversation on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all the different social media. Y'all, listen to this. I want you to like. I want you to comment. I really want you to comment. And then I want you to share. Because we got conversations that need to be talked about. Talisha, what's going on? See, because what I'm not talking about the deadbeat goofy that you had no business sleeping with. I'm not talking about the bum that your mama, your daddy, everybody else told you stay away from. That dude's not the guy who deserves to be the picture of the conversation because that was your mistake. I'm talking about the good dude. I'm talking about the good dude that you said, you know what? I can't really rely on him because there's too many opportunities outside of this guy that I can take advantage of. See, because listen to this, there's nothing more beautiful than the incentives that are in place for the woman who's been mistreated by a man who's got a child and has a future, has a plan, has a hope. she can do all kinds of things. She can get money for school. She can get childcare. She can get all kinds of health benefits. She can get things that a man can only dream about. And I'm thankful that she gets them. But why? Why does it have to be if you get rid of the dude and he's not an official part of your life? Why? You talk to me about that. Because that's where the evil comes in. See, we all fight for equality, but nobody wants to give their strength up. Nobody wants to give up their power. Everybody says, how wrong was it for a man to put his foot down on a woman? But right now in the family household, the man has got the foot on his face and he's not respected in his own place. Y'all talk to me about this because something has to be done about it. Truth Seekrz every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I got some real conversation for y'all because if y'all don't hear me, then there's nothing we can do about it. Out of wedlock birth rate skyrocketed. And I want you to understand something. When the out of wedlock birth rate has skyrocketed, a lot of people think that somehow I'm saying that men are not actively engaged. You are wrong, especially in the black community. I want you to understand that blacks have a greater representation with their children than any other race. Did you know that? Blacks didn't come up with that study. Sure didn't. But that's the way it is right now. And mind you, that's with mass incarceration. That's with a welfare state that incentivizes a woman to move away from a man and deal with the entitlements that she's guaranteed as a mother, single mother. See, I want you to understand that the real problem here is that when somebody assigns you an identity that you never wanted, that you never felt fair, that you never had a right to show that it was the wrong assignment. It disincentivizes you. It emasculates you. Take it from a person. I understand how this is when you are given a role that you never wanted in your life. It doesn't make you fired up. It doesn't make you want to do all the things you can do. You fight it. You deal with the immaturity of the emotion. You deal with the depression, the rejection, especially if you're somebody who is already dealing with rejection and oppression, like a black man or a minority in this country who's constantly getting shafted just to find out I'm even getting shafted on being a daddy. What then? You always talk about, oh, it's so bogus how they treat the black man. Well, look how the heck y'all treating us. And I'm not talking about the bad ones because there are some bad men out here. And I'm not going to say this in any other way than just like I say, shame on that dude for being bad. Shame on you for messing with him because you wasn't by yourself. You had real people in your life telling you was a fool. And I'm sorry you had to deal with him. More importantly, I'm sorry you had a child by him, but they don't deserve the right to be the person who's in this picture right now because they are not the majority. They're the minority of the unwed fathers who are unwed because most women are not willing to get married right now, knowing that it's going to kill the opportunities that come with being single. See, to receive public assistance, the mother has to turn the father in. See, I don't know how many of y'all know this, and a lot of guys know how this goes, where father's been, contributing and making sure the baby's getting all kind of stuff. But the mother, she made a decision that, you know what, I'm still going to take advantage of all of these different financial opportunities I got. I'm going to go down to the government. I'm going to do all these different things and get these little helps. And, father's still giving a little something, giving a little something, giving a little something. He ain't got no records of it. He's just giving a little something, giving a little something, giving a little something. His mama giving a little something, sister giving a little something, auntie giving a little something. Everybody trying to be a part of something, trying to show you that you got a good man here. And then all of a sudden he gets subpoenaed. Because child support want to know how we going to pay for all this money we've been giving her. See, and what you don't understand is that the average dude then ends up with a warrant. See, with that warrant, he might get pulled out of court, might get pulled out of his job, might get laid off, might get terminated because you know what? We don't want deadbeat daddies here. And he ain't did nothing wrong. You know how many times I've seen this? And don't tell me that you don't know about it because you not only know about it, you've talked about it with people and you know it's real. And it's sick. Real sick. Tina, what's going on, sis? See, because in order for you to receive public assistance, you got to give a name. And if you don't give a name, then they're going to reduce your entitlements. And why would you do that? I mean, why would you do that to your baby? Of course you're going to give them a name. Why wouldn't you get a name, right? You're going to say he got the name from the child from the birth certificate. Whatever. That's not really the issue. The issue is that every single time that you utilize a system that delegitimizes a man, it causes the man even more stress, more pain, more suffrage. Do you know what it's like to go into a court and the judge asks, are you guilty or not guilty? I said to the judge, I didn't know having a baby was a crime. See, I guess it is a crime if I'm not going to be considered to be an equal with the same equal right to have a child to become a father. But if I'm just doing this to just be a deadbeat, I guess it is illegal. But you haven't proved anything other than an assumption. Because men don't have the rights as a woman if you're unwed and you're a father. Sean says, from my experience, the sisters usually regret seeking the greener pastures from the out. Yeah, that's true, brother. Yeah, see, that's the thing is that oftentimes you look back and you say, man, this wasn't better for my child. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people who have turned the opportunity into a great leapfrog, but that's not the way it typically goes. I know people who have utilized the system to create huge opportunities for their child, but that child didn't have a father at home. Every single time that child needed a father right there, right then, to show them what a man is, what a man does, and how a man thinks, who do they run to? So there's disadvantages. There's pain. These pains don't go away. And the child that is deprived of a father ends up living a life as a parent that never had the dual vision of a husband and a wife, a male and a female. And then they walk into their next relationship with a single mind. They don't have the ability. They might have the will, but they don't have the ability. Because our people suffer. They suffer from the decisions that they make. And our children suffer from the decisions that are made. And then what happens? See, here's something that burns my heart. What burns my heart is that the average, and I say black man, because the average black man has no father rights. And because he doesn't, he's always being looked at suspicious whenever he wants to be a part of the child's life. Maybe one day you might say, I'm going to go up to the school and I just want to, see my child and wave in the window like daddies do. And as soon as you get there, they say, I'm sorry. You don't seem to be in any documents here. I'm going to have to check with the mother to see if it's okay for you to be here. Well, I'm the father, and I got a little toy here for the baby. And we're not allowed to allow you access here because, I'm sorry. It's just protocol. Yeah, it's sad, right, Candy? It's sad for the fathers who do take time for their kids. You know why? Because, again, when women were discriminated against, every single time that men would explain why they had the right to discriminate against the woman was they always paint this picture of the woman that what no other woman like. And that was the picture that men were being able to showcase to minimize the rights of a woman. And right now, today, the average good father is always being painted as this deadbeat dad sitting around with a video game, joystick in his hand, bottle on the side, and don't want no form of responsibilities. That's not the average man. And if that's the average man you deal with, that's a personal issue. You need to change that. Because that is an underrepresentation of the men that are out here today who want nothing more than to be legitimate, impactful, loving fathers in their children's lives. See, because when you're met with a suspicion at a general institution of what are you even doing here, you might even be violent. Just another reason why the Starbucks thing happens everywhere you go, because there's absolutely no reason for somebody to have to respect a man, not in a home, not in a store, not in a school, not on a block. There's absolutely no place. And are you helping the situation? Some of you have black little boys. What life are you showing them for their future? See, I already see their daddy ain't got no respect. Mama talk bad about him. Father don't say nothing bad about him because you know what? The minute he say one thing bad, the child go back and say that he cut off. Can't say it, can't even see his baby again. So he biting his tongue, don't want to say too much. Can't do nothing. And the ones who do lose their mind, you know what? Come on. I don't justify any form of indecency. I don't believe that there's ever a reason to treat any woman bad, even the one you don't like. Because if you love your child, love the fact that that's his mother, her mother. And you don't ever want to separate a woman from their child, nor do you ever want to be separated from your child. Pierre, what's going on? Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is a real problem. This is something that breaks our hearts, that just stifles our ambition, reminds us of how inferior we're perceived. And it's not right. It's not equal. It's not fair. Somebody got to say something. Somebody got to know. Yeah, it's deep, man, Sherry. It's so deep. And what's so deep about it is people think that somehow you just got to, just grin and bear, try not to stare, and it's painful. It's painful. I used to own hair salons, and I'd listen to men talk, and I'm talking about men with tears in their eyes because they can't barely even think right. How is it that I don't have a right to come see my child? How is it that I got a pocket money? I can't go and take my child to the park because I'm not a official parent, or somehow because I got a relationship with this other woman now, I can't have my child because, this is all drama and it's painful. Some dudes, it's part of the reason why they give up. I'm not saying you should give up, man. I don't believe in giving up. I believe in clawing and fighting all the way through. But even me, it broke me down. And I'm not a dude who break down. And when I see other people and I see in their eyes, when you see a grown man with tears in his eyes, you better believe he had no intention of crying, no intention of telling you how painful that situation was. And that what's going on. You see? But see, eventually, the sad part is eventually men get the message. They get it loud and clear. They understand they're not valuable. They're not needed. They have no purpose. At some point, they figure it out. I'm worthless. I'm just here until I'm not here. Neff, what's going on? Yeah, and then they buy in. They buy into a destructive mindset. Do you know what it's like when you already know your child don't respect you? Do you know what it's like when your child isn't told they have to say hi to their daddy? Or just whatever. It's your job. You make it happen. How? You get on the phone, call your grandmama, tell her happy birthday, call your aunt, or call your uncle, tell him happy Father's Day. Not call your mama. I mean, call your daddy. No, don't call him. Don't when you say your prayer and thank God for all your family members, daddy ain't part of that prayer. No. Pray your daddy give you some money this week. See, it's painful, man. Some of y'all know because you've had to deal with it. Some of y'all have been the reason why it happened. Maybe the dude did something wrong to you, messed around or something like that, and had another girl or something, and so you gave him the greatest amount of revenge. Or maybe the dude just wasn't right. Maybe he just wasn't ready to be the man that you needed him to be, and you shelved the dude. And then one day, like all human beings, he stepped up to the plate and wanted to be something real. But you know what? You wasn't ready to allow him his manhood, wasn't allowing him his fatherhood. You had to put your foot on his neck because that's just the way you saw it. And, your girlfriends told you that's the way you needed to do it. And now your child doesn't have a true value or true appreciation for a man. Maybe that's your beautiful daughter who now is running the streets because she had never had a real intention to get settled down. Why should I settle down? You never settled down. Why should I respect this dude? Why should I let him and me try and work it out? We just had an argument. He didn't like the way that I said something, so I'm done with this dude. But hold on, baby. You're supposed to work it out. This is the person you had a baby with. Well, you ain't working out. Why should I? Or you got a child at home. He's a little man, come up to be a man, have a child. And he say, I don't mess with her like that, man. I'm going to find somebody else. And you say, well, baby, you got a child. No, why? My daddy wasn't there for me. And you thinking to yourself, yeah, because I kind of didn't let him. I kind of moved him away from even wanting to be serious about that thing because I wanted him to know that I wasn't willing to share and lose some of the opportunities I had. Some of y'all are good women, though. And I say some of y'all because some of y'all ain't. But some of y'all truly tried to give the man time after time, opportunities to change, to be the right guy. And he wasn't. And I'm sorry for that dude. But for every one of y'all who could say that you truly tried, I could tell you about 100 of them who didn't. Howard, what's going on? This is Truth Seekrz. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m., we talk about some things that are uncomfortable because we got to have this conversation. And I want you to like the conversation. I want you to comment, but then I want you to share this into your groups. I want you to let people know that this is real that we talk about on Tuesdays. We ain't cutting no blows. We going with it. And everybody has the right to talk about it. Say what's on your mind. Be real with it, though, because other people reading it. See, because we've dealt with injustice. A lot of minorities, blacks know we done fought to be considered equal. Men are always, always, always considered to be the ones who are supposed to want to do for their family, provide and be respectful. But listen here, respect starts at home. Man's got to be able to be a father, even if there was never an intention for him to be a husband. See, because sometimes things happen. Some of y'all know there'd be some unexpected pregnancies, but that didn't mean that it was unaccepted. It didn't mean that somebody was going to turn their back and not want to be a man. But today, the average man, unwed, isn't even a real person from a parental perspective. You know what they say? They say it's biology plus relationship. In order for a man to have the same parental rights, he has to have, obviously, biological fatherhood, which is understandable, but he also has to have a relationship. Do you understand that men don't have the ability to have a relationship if you're not letting them get in? Do you understand what I'm saying? So here I am. I might be trying to fight a case to try to get. I might not have a lot of money. You know, I might not have a lot of money. I may not have a retainer for the judge, for the lawyer. I may not have the ability to represent myself. Maybe I'm making a minimum amount of money, just enough to be able to pay my bills because I'm not trying to be a burden to my parents. So I'm living at my own home and I'm working 7 days a week, doing 2 jobs or whatever it is. And the lawyer says, man, I'm willing to represent you, but you know, it's going to cost you about $30,000 to do what you're trying to do. And you think to yourself, $30,000, I don't even have $3,000 to get my car fixed. I'm unfit, even though we come from the same financial backgrounds. Even though you're not rolling in the dough, I wasn't rolling in the dough. We was equals until it came time to be a father. You know, it's a painful truth, y'all. It's a painful truth. And I'm glad y'all sat down and listened to me today. And I know a lot of you have a lot of thoughts on this, and I appreciate the comments that I've gotten. I more importantly appreciate y'all taking some time out to see what's happening with this. That's right, Tammy. I know it. See, because sometimes after we've endured parenthood, then we become grandparents and we see the same afflictions to our children. And it's when it's your child that you understand the atrocities of inequality. It's when you understand the pain of not being able to have the same rights. Candy says, and sometimes we make a mistake of speaking about a father in the wrong way to their kid. You know, I've had a child tell me they didn't know what the value of a father was. They had no idea why there was such a fuss about a father. Exactly is a father. See, the fact that you don't know is proof of how underrepresented the father is. And you know, you can't get mad at your child because you love your child. All you can do is pray, say, God, get me up out of this situation. Help me, because I don't want to be this inferior. I can't look at my child without getting mad, so angry that I want to do something wrong. And then who's supposed to live with that pain? See, because I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of different pains out here. But when you've been deprived of an inalienable right, when you've been sabotaged of every dream that you had as a man to be a father, pain is real. Pain is unexplainable. Pain is unescapable. Hey, this your boy, Tone Duncan. It's Truth Seekrz every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Join in on Sundays when we have our Sunday conversation, 1 p.m. right here. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Peace love.